Driving through the intersection of Franklin and Portland, you probably won't notice anything different about this neighborhood, about the whole community. But those who stop and take the chance to experience the neighborhood will soon realize that this community brings families and neighbors together like none other. And the reason for this difference? A small garden tucked away between apartment buildings, a garden that produces more than just vegetables and grows more than just plants.
I always say now, you can pay now by eating right, or you can pay later by going to the doctor and pay a lot of doctor bill for being sick, for not eating right.
As Ron Finley said in a recent NPR podcast on growing gardens in LA, more people are killed from drive-ins than drive-bys, and this issue is urgent as more than 1/3 of U.S. adults are obese. This obesity leads to diabetes, diseases, strokes, and types of cancers. In conclusion, obesity creates some of the leading causes in preventable death.
This food that we eat from McDonald's is really not food. It's stuff that goes through a factory, then go to a fast food place, then we eat it from there. A lot of time I didn't know why I was getting sick and getting headaches and stuff like that. The food you eat is what you eat, that's what you are.
A growing solution to not only obesity, but a lack of inexpensive, chemical-free vegetables can be something as simple as a plot of land.
If you have a piece of land, you can garden it. If you have a pot this big, you can grow something in it.
I think gardening should be in all communities, because the food that we go to the store and buy is no good for us. You know, they put chemicals and stuff in it. But when you grow it, your own food, you grow organic food. That means no fertilizer, no bug spray on it. You know, because a lot of food you eat have fertilizer. Fertilizer, is not good. Bug spray is no good. If it kills the bugs, it'll kill you too. So organic food is real good and healthy for you. You live longer.
In response to community need, Hope Community in the Minneapolis Phillips neighborhood began a garden that, while started small, has grown into a central area for the neighborhood.
Children that pull to the garden, or they happen to walk past, and ask them with their parents, of course, if they can try different tomatoes and stuff, which they don't like tomatoes, and all of a sudden they just happen to taste one, and they start picking them off the vine from there. So it's just amazing transformation.
People in cities are really interested in growing their own food from a practical level, from a sustainability level, it's just cheaper to grow your own food, and it feels good to be outside and working in the soil.
A lot of kids last year didn't participate in the garden. I guess, when they saw us this year, they were very interested in it. They walked past a couple of times weekly, and then just started to stop in the garden, ask the questions, from 5 to 7, and they really enjoy the garden. They only work normally this year. Tuesdays and Thursdays are work days and stuff, and kids was asking me to come the next day, basically every day, so they could be in the garden, and they drag their parents in the garden.
We see a lot of younger kids and youth and young adults kind of like wandering into the garden because they're just roaming around and playing, and they want to know what's going on. So they'll come over and they'll be like, oh, there's a garden here, and they'll go and get their mom and bring her over, and like, oh, look, there's tomatoes here, can we harvest some? And so I've seen that happen quite a bit. A lot of times it's the kids that come to the garden first and start asking us questions and want to get involved, and we're like, yeah, go ask your mom, and they'll bring their mom, or they'll bring their dad.
I think it helps the youth learn how to connect back to healthy living, healthy eating, and cooking and family, because the youth, they really enjoyed learning about food from the ground up.
We have parties in the garden, and we take fresh vegetables, make pizza vegetables and vegetarian pizzas, and it's just to me, I never really experienced community until I really got to gardening and just sharing that time with other people, just walking up. They might, had something to do, but they still stayed because it was so relaxing, and they was connecting with the earth and nature, and seeing how it all come together when you're dealing with land and growing something. It just does something to you.
It gets everyone in the community involved with one another on a different level. It helps build back a community, pretty much, to know your neighbors and know that there's an option, that if you want to eat healthy, you can ask your neighbor or participate in their garden and work together to get healthy foods to families.
Since our gardens are very visible because they're in the middle of the city and because you can see them from your windows of your apartment buildings, we'll have kids like calling down to us like, what are you guys doing out there? It's like, come help us, So we're really highly visible. It's something to do. It's something active outside that kids are welcome to participate in, and that they also end up involving their parents in as a side effect.
The garden helps the neighborhood. It brings people together. And, when you're a teenager, a lot of teenagers go through without, might not care about stuff and, start feeling lonely and stuff like that. Garden brings people together and make people start caring about stuff, taking care of stuff. Because once you get a garden, and garden is nothing easy, it's real hard, Once you care for a garden, then you start caring for the neighborhood. You start keeping your neighborhood clean. There won't be no crime. It brings down the crime when people come together, have meetings and stuff, and eat the food they plant. That's something for a lot of people feel proud of that. Some of they grew.
When you grow and you learn to eat from the land, it's just, when you have to return back to the store, it's a big change, big change. You can taste the difference in the vegetables, and it just doesn't taste the same.
When you do the garden and stuff, you just, you feel happy. And another thing, when you don't, you do the garden, the food don't have no sweet in it. See, I eat a lot of sweet too. And when you eat a lot of sweet, it makes you hungry in 3 hours. But when you eat that natural food, you don't get that hungry. The organic food does work. And once people, get educated on that, a lot of people are going to be eating organic food.
There's a new garden being built on the corner of Franklin and Portland in conjunction with another apartment building that Hope is creating. And so what I'm really looking forward to is seeing our leaders develop the plan for that garden and really create a vision from the ground up based on community input about what that garden is going to look like, what it's going to feel like. Are there going to be chickens or bees there? Are there going to be places where there can be music performances, greenhouses, hoop houses? I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think our leaders are going to do a really great job in figuring that out and getting really genuine community input. I say we grow out the garden is community, and I know that sounds cheesy, but it's totally true. We have, we really do have a family here at the garden, and on Tuesday and Thursday nights when we get together, we call it the garden family, and everyone comes together and we garden a little bit, and we talk a lot, and we, share recipes, we share stories, we talk about what's been going on in our lives, and so, that's what I would say we grow. Besides food, is community.
We need each other in this battle for fresh growing and fresh eating. I believe the youth have a lot of answers that we're missing.
This garden changed the Hope community in a way that cannot be seen from the window of your car. But once you take the chance to experience this neighborhood firsthand, you'll soon realize a garden can be much more than a plot of land.